Hello, I'm Andrew, and welcome to ESL English Practice with Traveller's Guide. These lessons are designed to help you improve your score, no matter which English proficiency test you're taking. Please press the thumbs up if you like the video, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one. In this lesson, we're going to be looking at IELTS Speaking Part 1 questions. And although the video is designed for IELTS tests, it's also suitable for any other English proficiency test you're taking. The IELTS speaking test is made up of 3 parts. In the first part, the examiner asks basic questions based on familiar topics. These are things that you're likely to have studied in class and should be fairly easy to understand. In part 2, you're given a topic to talk about for 1 to 2 minutes, and in part 3, you're asked more difficult questions around the theme of your part 2 topic. We'll deal with parts 2 and 3 in other videos. But for now, let's look at part 1. The whole test is marked on 4 criteria: grammar, fluency, pronunciation, and vocabulary. Some people think that these criteria only apply to the part 2 speech, but in fact this is important throughout the whole test. As soon as you begin speaking, the examiner will be thinking about all 4 of these points. So for grammar, make sure you use the correct verb tenses. Fluency means speaking at the correct pace, not too quickly, not too slowly. Pronunciation is how you say the words. Make sure you pronounce them the way they should be. And for vocabulary, you need to show that you know a large range of words, but make sure you use them correctly. IELTS Part 1 questions are often asked in small groups of similar questions. For example, you may be asked a few questions about music or about cooking. Here we can see several different Part 1 questions and how they're grouped together. Vocabulary is very important in Part 1, not just for your answer, but also so you can understand the question. For example, here we have a group of questions about transport. But what if you don't understand the word transportation? Maybe when you hear this word, you don't realize that it's actually another word for transport. And we have the phrase forms of transportation. Really, this just means what kind of vehicles do you use? Cars, buses, trains, that kind of thing. But if your vocabulary is not very good, you might not understand what the question is trying to ask you. Let's look at an example. We'll start with a very simple question. How are you? Now, for this question, I have 3 possible answers. They're all correct, but which one do you think is the better answer for a speaking test? Answer 1. Fine. Answer 2. I'm fine, thanks. And you? Answer 3. I'm feeling good today, thanks. I'm a little bit nervous about my test, but I'm hoping that I can do my best. They're all correct, but in Part 1 speaking, the answer is not important. It's the language that you use to give the answer. So if the examiner asks you how you are, they don't really want to know how you are. They want you to show how well you can answer the question. So answer 3 is better because it is longer, it has better vocabulary, and it shows off more of your English skills. Here's another Part 1 question. Where is your hometown? You could say Zhengzhou. That's correct. You've answered the question, but it's not a good display of your English. How about number 2? My hometown is Zhengzhou. Okay, we're using a whole sentence here, so that's better, but we can do much better than that. Answer 3. I come from Zhengzhou, which is the largest city in Henan province. I live in the city centre, near the train station. Okay, so we've given some extra information. We've explained where Zhengzhou is in case the examiner doesn't know, and we've used some better vocabulary such as province, city centre, train station. Answer 3 again is the better choice. Next we have the question, do you like travelling? Now many Part 1 questions could be answered by a simple yes or no, and answer 1 just says yes, so you've answered the question, but it's not a great answer. Answer 2, yes, I like to go travelling. A little bit better. We've used a whole sentence, but again it's too short. Answer 3. Yes, I love travelling. Every summer I go on a trip with my parents. Usually we visit another city in China, but last year we went to Singapore. Okay, so we're giving examples, we're giving extra information, we've answered the question, but we're also showing our English skills. So again, answer 3 is the best of these options. So here's another question. What's your favourite subject? Okay, and I have space for 3 answers. Can you think of a okay answer we could put for answer 1? Something that answers the question but is far too basic. I've chosen to say English. Of course, English should be your favourite subject. For answer 2, we're going to add a bit more information, looking for a whole sentence. What do you think that might be? Well, I've chosen the sentence, my favourite subject is English. So I'm using words from the question, I've made a whole sentence, and I've answered the question. But it's not great. Answer 3. Can you think of a way that we can make this answer longer with better vocabulary and showing off more of our skills? How about, my favourite subject is English because I enjoy learning about the differences between languages, and I believe it will be vital for my future studies and career. Okay, so all 3 of these answers say that English is our favourite subject. We've answered the question every time, but we're showing what we can do much more in answer 3. So the main point I'm trying to make here is that your answers to part 1 questions should be full. Long answers, maybe around 5 to 10 seconds of speaking, giving extra information, examples, and showing your range of vocabulary. Now, in your part 1 answers, you don't have to tell the truth, but make sure your answer is plausible. By this I mean, don't say something that the examiner knows is not true. For example, if you're talking about a holiday, you could say that last year you went on holiday to France. The examiner doesn't know if this is not true. Don't say that you went on holiday to the moon, because the examiner will know that's impossible. So sometimes, if you don't have a good answer to a question, you can make something up, and as long as it's believable, that can still be a good way to show your English ability. Let's look at this question as an example. What's your favourite animal? You might be tempted to say, my favourite animal is a dog, because dogs are cute and lovely. I have a pet dog at home. Now, while this answer is okay, it's not very interesting. It is true, but so many people will choose a dog or a cat as their favourite animal. The vocabulary level is low, and I think we can do much better. Let's try this instead. My favourite animal is a hammerhead shark, because they are unique and intelligent. My dream is to swim with hammerhead sharks. This is not true, but it's better vocabulary. So hammerhead shark in itself is a better vocabulary than dog, but also that encourages us to use more descriptive language. And we're not going to have a pet hammerhead shark at home. So for our extra information, I'm talking about a dream to swim with the sharks. So maybe you have an animal which is your 3rd or 4th favourite animal that's much more interesting to talk about than a cat or a dog. So in that case, choose the more interesting animal because it will lead to a better answer. Now it's practice time. So let's look at those questions again and write some example answers. So here we have a set of questions all about the topic of music. And the first one says, what's your favourite type of music? I listen to many genres of music, but I'd have to say that my absolute favourite is rock. I like the energy of rock music and I connect with the lyrics. So here I've avoided a one-word answer, I've answered in a whole sentence and then given some extra information. I'm giving a reason for my choice. Next question, can you play a musical instrument? So my answer is, when I was younger, I learned how to play the bass guitar and played in a band with some of my friends. However, I don't really play it much these days. Notice I'm using the past tense with learned and played because I'm talking about something that happened when I was younger. And then I change to the present tense when I'm talking about how much I play it now. The next question says, what kind of music is popular in your country? So I said, many people, especially young people, like to listen to hip-hop and R&B music. The weekly music chart is usually full of this kind of music, but perhaps many older people prefer classical music. So for this answer, I'm thinking about it from different people's points of view. I'm not entirely sure what the most popular type of music is in the UK, but I'm having a guess. I'm using the weekly music chart as evidence for my opinion. And the last question in this topic, is it important for children to learn to play a musical instrument? And my answer is, I think children should be encouraged to play a musical instrument, as it is a skill that could be useful in later life. They might wish to join a band or an orchestra, or become a professional musician in the future. Learning a variety of skills can make people well-rounded individuals. So to recap, IELTS Part 1 questions are basic questions on familiar topics. Try to give a long answer using examples and evidence, and remember the answer doesn't have to be true as long as it is plausible. And the answer to the question is not as important as the language that you use to answer it. Here are some useful tips for answering Part 1 questions. Learn vocabulary so you can understand the questions, and also so that your answers can be more interesting. Practice writing example answers to the questions, like I did previously. Writing the answer can give you more time to think about it, and you can see where your answer can be improved. Learn facts about everyday things that might come up in the questions. So think of an example holiday destination, an example animal, an example subject that you might be asked about, and learn some facts about them. Practice as much as you can. Of course, practicing speaking is the best way to improve your speaking. And although that might be difficult, do whatever you can to practice, even if you're just talking to yourself. And finally, avoid one-word answers. Don't just say yes or no. Give a long answer, at least a whole sentence, preferably with some extra information. So that's the end of this lesson about IELTS speaking Part 1 questions. Thank you for watching. Remember to press the thumbs up if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel, and feel free to leave a comment below. I'll see you again next time on ESL English Practice. Goodbye.